Good morning, everyone. This is the path to 1 million. This is going to be episode number 103. Something I'm calling Always Thinking. And of course, by now, fortunately, the statute of limitations, I guess, can no longer hurt me. But for those of you that are watching and those of you that know, please do not tell Jen. So, the other day, I am writing out a check. And as I'm writing out the check, and as most normal people do, in the upper right-hand corner, I'm writing the date. So I wrote on there, 8/13/2019. And I go down to write the amount down below for the check. And all of a sudden I stop and I look at that date, 8/13/2019. And it sunk into my head at that moment that it had been 30 years since I graduated high school. Like many moons ago. I was actually taken aback. Like this year is like our 30th anniversary. I don't know if we're going to have a class reunion or not. Probably not. Because we all seem to be connected and chatting just fine on Facebook. But who knows? Anyways, I started thinking back to high school. And there was, a lot of people I know of thought of me as like a really good student. And I guess it's all about the persona that you put on. But I started remembering about something a little bit. Not a little bit, but it was rebellious. It was devious on my part that I did back in the day. And I just wanted to share that story with you. I know some of you out there let your kids watch this video. So just to let you know that if you are a kid and you are watching this video, don't do what I do. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. So with my public service announcement out of the way, let me begin the story. So back in the day, I worked at this restaurant. And when I worked at this restaurant, there was another guy that worked there. And I'm going to change the names of the guilty to protect them. So I will just call him Bob. Now, Bob worked at this restaurant as well. And every single time that I worked with Bob always put me down. Every single time without fail. And his comments were so derogatory. Every single time. There was nothing ever nice that came out of his mouth. And it just wasn't that he had just a bad attitude on life. Au contraire, mon frere. He just, for some reason or another, felt like he could just completely dump on me all of the time. Every time that he and I had to work together, he would just dump on me, like every single time. And I could not understand it because I, didn't do anything to him. Every time that I would see him, I'd be like, oh, hey, Bob, how you doing today? Anyways, he would just keep right on going. It was nonstop. And day after day, month after month, week after week, finally boiled down into years. One day I snapped. I was in a really good mood. I was having a good time. I was at work and he came in and he said something to me wrong. And I was like, oh my God, I am going to do something to this guy. Now, just to let you know that in high school, probably the worst kept secret, and if you promise not to tell anybody, I'll share it with you. But the worst kept secret in high school was the fact that I loved to TP people's houses. That was my thing. Toilet paper was my thing. I loved to go out and TP somebody's houses, but it wasn't just anybody's houses. I just wouldn't do it for fun. I had this weird justice scale system in my head. So if somebody I felt was doing me wrong or doing one of my friends wrong, we would make it a point to go out and TP their house. That was just something that I did. And it was pretty public about it, which was kind of stupid on my part. But all I have to say is that, I'm sorry about that. I got a text message there. So that was my thing. That was my shtick. So when Bob pissed me off to the point where I could barely breathe, to the point where I was just so full of anger, I just said to myself, I'm going to trash his house. I'm going to TP his house. I'm going to trash his house. I'm going to trash his house so bad. Right? And the first thing I had to do, of course, was put together a team. And, I went out to a couple people that I knew and I said, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to trash Bob's house. Do you want to help me? And believe it or not, everybody said yes. There were so many people out there that just did not like Bob. I don't want to say they hated his guts because that might be a little bit strong. They all said that they did, but they didn't. But it was just that, man, just this one day, I don't know what it was. Just Bob just rubbed my nerves the wrong way, like really bad. And so I'm going to trash his house really bad. So now I've got all my team together. We got, oh my God, we got so much toilet paper. We got it from everywhere that we could possibly think of. My buddy had a huge trunk in the back of his car. I swear to God, there was enough toilet paper in that trunk to wipe the ass of every man, woman, and child in the state of Michigan. There was so much in there. I had the neighbor kid and his sister help me out. We were shredding newspaper by hand for weeks. I would actually go and I would stake the kid's house out, like on the weekends, try to figure out like patterns, like, is he coming home late, or, what does his car look like, or what his patterns were. I mean, I was like really like detailed about it. And after all of these years of watching the A-Team, I kind of had this idea of how I was going to trash him. But the thing is that I knew when I went in there and I was going to trash his house that he was going to come for me. I knew he would, because like I said, this is the reputation that I had. So I have a buddy of mine who he promises himself to be like some kind of an artist. So I went to him and I said, hey, I need you to make a sign, right? Make me a sign. So he did. He made me a sign, and I looked at it, and it was this giant piece of poster board, and it said, you are the second victim of the NTPF. Now, because I grew up in the 80s, everything that you saw on TV wound up in the word force, right? So every special missions show that was on TV or whatever it is, they always ended in force. So I called my group of people New TP Force, right? So I had this sign, bought a couple stakes for it, had the toilet paper, had a shredded paper. We were ready to go. That night we hit his house, right? Of course, we get to his house and there's a light on. And I'm like, oh my God, I never saw a light on before. So me and another guy in my crew, we go up to the window and we peek inside, and it's him. Bob is like wide awake in bed reading a Stephen King book. And I'm like, great, we're gonna have to call the thing off. But then it occurred to me, he absolutely loves Stephen King books. And there's no way he's getting out of that book. So I gave everybody a thumbs up and I said, let's go. And we were there for hours. Holy sweet Moses, smell the roses. We were there for hours, and the toilet paper was just throwing. And every single time that I threw a roll of toilet paper up into a tree, and I could see these long strands floating in the breeze, in the wind, it looked super eerie. It was almost like Halloween. We kept trashing. We got the shredded newspaper out. We were throwing it all over his yard. By the time we were done, it looked like it had snowed in his yard. That's the amount of garbage that I put in there. And every single time it felt good. Holy sweet Moses. So my crew and I pile in the car and we leave. But the last thing we do before I go is I take the sign out of the trunk that I had my friend made, and I put it in the stake and I drove it into his front yard. So that way everybody that drove by could see the sign. The next day I go to work knowing full well that this guy is going to be there. So I walk through the door, and of course he's right there. And he is so pissed. His face is like beet red. He obviously has been stewing on this, and he beet red, and he comes right up to me and he goes, I want to talk to you. And I looked at him and I was like, don't you freaking talk to me, you asshole. I walked away. So he's not content with this. So he starts following me, and I'm going downstairs in the locker room to change. And as he's following me down the stairs in the locker room, I start the narrative. And I say, last night, somebody came over and they completely trashed my house. And I am so pissed off. And he actually said the same thing. He's like, oh my God, somebody came and trashed my house too. And I said, yeah, and I couldn't believe it. And to make matters worse, they put the sign in my front yard that said I was the first victim of the NTPF, whoever those guys are. And he looked at me and he goes, oh my God, they put a sign in my front yard that said I was the second victim of NTPF. And I said, well, if you ever find out who those guys were, you let me know, because I will burn their house to the ground. And he goes, I will. And he walks off. So I don't know if he ever caught on to that. This is the first time I've ever told that story out loud in public, which is hilarious. I've told it in close friends, but I don't know if he ever caught on to that. He probably did, probably suspected all these years. Who knows? I don't care. I think the statute of limitations ran out. I don't know how long ago, so I don't think I can be convicted for it. Anyways, like I said before, if you got any kids that are watching this, don't do what I do. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. Definitely don't use me as a role model. Anyways, one of those wild zany stories from the high school days. I appreciate you guys checking in and listening to my babble. I'll be back again tomorrow with another story. And thank you guys all for stopping in. Thank you, Charles, for stopping in. Chris, thanks for stopping by. Sherry, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the likes and all the hearts. Do appreciate it. I will see you then. Bye.